I I don't usually do it, but I did listen. I was walking, so I listened to the last Yashir. That was in Lag Boime. It wasn't about Parshas Emor, so I figured I'll give something. I have to run, but I'll give something in Parshas Emor. I just need a chumash. So let's see what we have here. Okay, before we start, I want to dedicate this year. Any birthdays? Okay, the newborn baby. Be'ezus Hashem, Gesundheit, healthy mommy, Chava Basha Bas Abigail. Health of my father, Chapsi Ben Cyril, my mother, it's a prayer Bas Rachel, and my brother Shmuel, and whoever needs a refuah, and whoever needs a Yeshua, whoever needs Atzlocha, Bracha, Atzlocha, and Gesundheit. Also, I want to dedicate tonight's share for my grandfather, my mother's father, Reb Chaim Dov ben Reb Aaron Yitzchak HaKoyen. He was a Navardic Talmud in Pinsk, same place where the Stipler, Reb Yankele Galinsky, and the others learned. He was a chassid. He wrote a Musar Sefer, Iyunim Umusarim. So he had both worlds, Musa and Chasidus, which is a little different, not for now. Um, let's put it this way. What I remember from him is Moira Migdash. He didn't talk in shul, not only by davening. He didn't talk not by davening, not before, not after davening. He came to first, left the last. He wouldn't waste a second. And he was a Musriyid, the whole Musriyid, and not from today's time. I remember he used to dip in his bread into the coffee for breakfast. A big pater. I forgot his lashon exact, but I remember something he said, and he was totally for Hashem. Mamish Hashem Levadi, nothing else. So our son Chaim Tzvi, the Chaim is named after him, Tzvi after my father's father, but he was a very special Yid. The Moshe Wolfson, Zatzal from Emunis Yisrael, said he used to daven in Stolen Shul in Williamsburg, where I davened when I was a kid, on Rodney Street. Today's Nitra, across from Satma, in Rodney Street in Williamsburg, in Brooklyn, New York. And he said about my grandfather, Moshe Wilson, when he used to daven there, Rebel Yebe Wachtfeugel daven there, Nossen Wachtfeugel daven there. Yeah. So and there was another few Rosh Hashivas and Abanim. It was a very prestigious minyan. So Moshe Wolfson Zatzal said about my mother's father, Chaim Dov Koyen. He said that he's the Chavetz Chaim from our generation. Then we're talking about 50 years ago. Shane. He passed away in 76. Yeah, it's exactly 50 years. Exactly 50 years. Shane. So let's start with the end of. Let's start the Shir B'ezras Hashem. Oh, especially before we start, the main thing is we want to dedicate the share for the Gesund and the Mazel, our lovely daughter, Rebbitzin Esther Cyril Weiss, Reb Chaim Baruch's Rebbitzin. Okay. But it's Kaddish. No, it's not the right part. Here, Emor. Okay. So the parsha has a few topics, including Yom Tov. Let's start off with the first topic. We're going to skip around. Last week's parsha ends off. Kedoshim ends off. V'isha yishakiyevem oiv oyidoini mois yumosu be'evan yigum oisam dmeim bob. This is this is a very important topic. You have people with the Chochmas Hayad lots of shidduchim are held back because Chochmah Sayad. I just read it recently, mamish recently, very recently. I'm talking about last few days on WhatsApp or something that many people are blowing and throwing away like 90% of shidduchim because of these, so to speak, klumpish professionals in Chochmah Sayad, and they take the chassan and the kalah's handwriting to see if they match, and they throw away more than 90%, something like that. I read a small few lines, and I didn't think I'm going to speak about it, but Hashem just put it into my head now, so I want to speak about it, and I want to show the connection that punkt I saw it now and punkt that's in the parsha. Last week's parsha, you don't go to the mason, you don't go to all these tumen koiches, and you don't get information from them. Now, Chochmah Siyad, there's nothing wrong. But who said? I mean, tell me. I mean, find me the psychologist. I'll find you that there's a reason why he became or she became a psychologist, if you know what I mean. Most of the time, and I'm not saying anything further. Find me the people that got married and they were a match. I'm still looking for them. And this guy, and when there are exceptions to two toibin, two birds, two doves. Okay, could be. But that's not the case for the vast, 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 vast majority. But you make it happen. It's my second half. It doesn't have to be like me. It's the one that Hashem felt it for me. The etzem noise of you know trying to find the perfect. The more perfect you try to find, I'm not saying there shouldn't be chemistry. I'm not saying it should. There should be something attractiveness, a part of at least, but not. What I'm saying is when you throw away most of the shidduchim and you're so picky, you have thousands of boys and girls single because of that. So the more you date before the wedding, the more chance of divorce, because the more you're looking for this exceptionally perfect shidduch, which doesn't exist. It just doesn't exist. So it's not about who I find; it's about who I am. It's not finding the right shidduch; it's being the right shidduch. So what does that have to do with our parsha? So the Torah says, for don't go to these type of people. Trust in Hashem. And if you trust in Hashem, what does that mean? That means Hashem, it's about you, not about me. It's about what do you want? It's about what you put on my plate. I trust you. It's v'chi sizbuchu zevach toida Hashem. Last week we had shlomim, and this week zevach toida. You bring a zevach toida. Why? Because you created problems, Hashem, and then you saved the day. I was in sakana. Okay, maybe you didn't create it, but I was put in sakana. And then I got out of it. So I bring a carbon toida. The key says it has to be l'tzoinchem. And if a person says, Rebbeinu Shloilem, why'd you give me the problems? Don't give me the problems and don't save me. So the Teretz says, no, that doesn't work that way. You have to have emunah b'tochen Hashem that He's competent and He loves us. Which mother do you go? There's a person, and there are exceptions to the rules. But in regular, if a mother loves her children and she makes food, does a son ever go, hey, did you put poison in the food? I just want to know. I can't trust her. How could you not trust your mother? She would give up in an eye beat. She would give up in a heartbeat. She would give up a life. She would, of course, put your life. She would give you the best and the shenst and the best. What's the question even? You go to Hashem that He's competent to kol yochel. He can do anything. Hashem does, and you say and you question Him. Says the Torah, no, it should be l'tzoinchem tizbachur. You should. And the Gemara says you shouldn't ask for yisurim. But if He gave you nisyonis and yisurim, don't have charata, because then you lose all the schusim. So Nachamal. So about throwing away the shidduchim, about, I mean, who's the worst, who's the biggest, the factor, the most deciding factor of being in the way of shidduchim for boys and girls. It's the mother for the boys and the father for the girls. Okay, many times the father's not holding anything back, but it could be. No, it's not good enough. I don't let my boy get married because it's a pasnish to that. And they're holding the shidduchim, and they go to 25, and they go to 28, and they go to 32, and so on and so forth. Many times it's the appearance that are disturbing and being in the way. No, I have to filter everything. What do you have to filter everything? I'm protecting my daughter and son. And so I'm not saying there are many times that the daughter wants the mother to protect them. Not every street thug should call and give her a gans in the drush. I get that, but with this pickiness. So I want to go on. So now we can start this week's parsha. So who should I go to? Oh, Emor lekana b'nei Aaron. Go to the kana b'nei Aaron, and go to them, and go to the to and ask the kohen gadol, ask the urim v'tumim, ask them what to do. So now you can ask a question: how do I know that the kohen is not going to go to the dead people? So of them zok the Torah, lenefesh lo yitam b'amav. Don't go to a slippery slope. Don't abominate your whole life with the tumah. Don't become tummy. Don't deal with the dead b'chlal. And then you're going to get the true the ilona dechai. You'll get the urim v'tumim. You get the right answer. So the Hasidim go to tell Hamidul Bashem, and everybody goes their own way. And many people, not Hasidim, they say, the heart has to tell you. I'm not going into that now, but I want to go right. So the first thing is don't become tummy. Spiritually impure. Don't deal with the dead. Stay away from the dead. The kohen can't have anything to do with the dead. Don't ask them for advice. Don't ask them for the future. Stay away from the dead. Last year we gave a different shot about the life. If you want to know somebody's alive, if they can thank, but that's not right now. I'm going in a different direction. Only for his relatives. Who's the most korevei love? Rashi says, "Ein sheda ela ishtoi." She's number one. Why is she number one? Before the father, mother, before the brother and sister, before the son and daughter, and the Torah says, "Yeah." Why? First of all, to get married, you're allowed to leave the country, you're allowed to leave Israel, and you're allowed to go to the diaspora to get married. And also, but you feel you might become tummy there from the bad influence, but for marriage, you're allowed to go find your second half. If Hashem put your second half overseas, go find her. So if the shaila is between the parent and the spouse comes first. So Kim L'Sheda, she's the first one of the 7 Krovim. There's 6 Krovim blood relatives, father, mother, brother, sister, son, daughter. And then there's one that your second half. So how do we look? What do we look over here when we're looking for a shidduch? So it says, Emor lekana b'nei Aaron. Since when do you talk to b'nei Aaron? You speak to the Kanan, that's understood. You speak. No, that's not the question. I'm sorry. Since when do you mention b'nei Aaron? Why is it so important that it's b'nei Aaron? Well, you have Kahanim not b'nei Aaron? The Torah says, yeah, Pinchas. Let's go weiter. Do you have b'nei Aaron that's not Kahanim? Yeah, Moshe Rabbeinu is a Kohen Gadol, and he's not a b'nei Aaron. He's for 7 days, Shivasim Emlum. He was a Kohen Gadol. So Moshe Rabbeinu was a Kohen Gadol, but he's not b'nei Aaron, so he could go ahead and be Matam himself. The b'nei Aaron that's not a Kohen Pinchas could also be Matam himself. That's why he's able to kill Zimri ben Salu and Cosby Basur. After that, he became a kohen. Oh, from then on, he can't be matam himself. Came to shadoi, but if he's kohen gadol, not even shadoi, not even a relative. So what's the bnei Aaron over here? So Pashup Pshat is bnei Aaron dafka and dafka kohen has to have both aspects. Another Pshat, if you want to go remez is bnei Aaron bnei is Beis Nun Yud, that's 62 plus Aaron is Aleph 6 Reish 256, right? It comes out 318. The Gemara says the first base of Mikdash there was 18 Kohanim Gedolim, and the second base of Mikdash 300 Kohanim Gedolim together, 318. The Bnei Aaron is 318, and both base of Mikdash in Yerushalayim. That's Remez. But I want to go a different direction. I want to go to what I started from. The Naftali Ropshitz. Naftali Ropshitz came to the Melech from Lezhensk. Zaydid the Rebbe Meiles from Lezhensk. And he didn't want to accept him. So why didn't he accept him? As a rule, he didn't accept who? The Groise Benon Shel Kedoshim, right? The Groise Miyuchasim. They got Groise fathers and grandfathers, and they were so haughty. You know who I am? And he said, Lamachop. Hashem can't stand the Balgaivinicus. So he didn't accept him. Rebbe Stoli Ropshitz started to cry, Rebbe. Is it my fault that my father was a tzaddik and my Zayda was a tzaddik? It's not my fault. Why? How come you're not accepting me? So the Rebbe explained, I don't accept me Yuchasim. They're too haughty. They're too arrogant. They'll never, and then they'll slip down. They'll become tummy. So he tells so the Melech Lejen saw that he had a broken heart and he's crying and he's so humble, although he's such a miyuchis. So he gained his entry. He let him in. He accepted him as a Talmud. But the point is, Emor lekana b'nei Aaron. Why b'nei Aaron? Speak to the children of Aaron and tell them if you have gaivel and nefesh lo yitam, don't. It's abomination. It's ekelhaftik. It's repulsive. Don't abominate your status by being a Balgaivinik, because you're special. You're better than others. You're in the base of Migdash. You have status. So I want to. Why am I saying this whole thing? What triggered me? What triggered me is that on the one hand, don't be so crazy picky. Don't go checking. You have rights to check Chochmas Yad. But many of these Chochmas Yad, just imagine if they would tell you that every shidduch is good, they would run out of business. So I don't know if I can trust them. On the other hand, who should you go to? You should go to the Kohanim, to the rabbis. And the rabbis are those that have to stick to life and stick to the truth. How do you know something is true if it stands the test of time? If it's alive, life doesn't die. Life is the long haul, for the long haul. And they're dedicated. They have they're dedicated with love. And these special kahanim, they love the people. If they don't love the people, they can't bench the people. You don't go to the Rebbe for bracha if he doesn't love you. It's not going to be effective. Why? It can be a hedyot, but if he does it from the ganze heart, it works. It's effective. So the Torah says, what's b'nei Aaron? So I'm going to give a little secret about myself. I'm revealing something about myself, my mahalach in shidduchim. My mahalach in shidduchim is, don't take somebody. I'm sorry, I don't care who you are. All the more yichus you have, if the whole reason of yichus is good to midas, so don't take somebody that doesn't have good to midas. I don't care what yichus. See, Avram, I'll get to Avram in a second. I try to stay away from shidduchim that they think they do me a big favor. They think they're riding high. They think they're God's gift to humanity, and they're verstinkene Balgaivinikis. They think they're smarter than everybody else. They think they're better. They think they're more Aryan than everybody else. They're their lead. So I was masking. I wanted what shidduch A, B, C, D, but it didn't work out. And for the life of me, I couldn't find the shidduch I wanted. So now I'm going to lower my grade, lower my level, and I'm going to be the ever to be masking with your child. Yeah, I want to. No comment. The whole lifetime, you want my child to be a Shifcha Kananis or Evet Kanani because you're a Mayuchas, you're the Rebbe Sheinikal, the Gavir Zainikal, whatever it is, or you think you're stamazoi smarter than everybody, or you stamazoi think you're God's gift to men, or you feel yourself elite, and you're going to do the favor. So the whole lifetime, you have to run after be a shmata in order to feed your ego. I'm sorry. In such cases, I run to the hills, and then later people have faribel on me. Who does he think he is that he said no to the shidduch? Well, guess what? I'm pretty open-minded about shidduchim. But if I see somebody's a mushkis more than everything else, a balgaivenik, so I don't know. It just doesn't ride well with me. So I want my kids. Here's the secret. I want my kids to be appreciated by that family. I don't want to be the last schlepper in that family. When you take a shidduch, people have to look up to you there. And if it's lowering some standards, so be it. If you have good midas, that's better than any yichus. He might have had yichus from the past, but his yichus is rotten to the core. He doesn't have good midas. Abel Gaivinik, Melech Muljen says, I don't want such a person. He don't want him as a Talmud. Why do I need such a person as a shidduch? So let's go to Avram Avinu, back to the basics. Avram Avinu says, don't take a shidduch from Canaan. Go to Choron. What's the nafkamina? Choron is not a mushchis b'midas. So there's two aspects. This is very important. There are some people not such mushchas b'midas, but they have such a mad, uncontrollable, untamed, un, relegate, regulated, lust, such taiva, and they go mushuga crazy, and to go modern off the derech, and so you try to stay away. Why do I have to put my kids through that terrible taivas, and it's not that full, and they can be the nicest of people but they're so full of lust. It says ubask ish koyin. What does it have to do with the father? How come it's a chil? How come it's desecrating the father if she does zunus? Because sometimes they're born with these in their genes with such taiva, like untainable. I mean, it's like wild crazy. It's like a fire, and they can't control themselves, not for a second. So that would also be. So Avram Avinu says, stay away from such families. Canaan had this fiery passion. They had this crazy passion and bad midas together. Too much. Give the bachel. Look at the boys. And if the boys are so fadorb bummed out, they might be nice people in the sense that it's geschmack to get along. But if they have fadorben and midas, or they're nice and they have terrible taivas, and they totally can't control themselves, like way out of proportion, not like tamoina. So you have good reason to stay away from such shidduch. I'm not talking about somebody had an afila for a while and came back. I'm talking about, you see, if you ask my wife, she was a principal for decades here in Lvov. And you see some kids come in, the quality of their energy, their vibes is so fadorben, or it's so full of lust. I mean, if they do a mitzvah, they get star more than anybody else because they have such heaviness that mamish doesn't let them come to any Jewish, anything kedush, they have such an allergy for it, against it, and it's not their fault. They were born into that. It reflects upon the family, and Avram Avinu would stay away from it. So one thing is gaiva, and another thing is bad midas, and another thing is uncontrollable taiva, lust. So, or somebody's so crazy about money. I want to mention this. It pains me, but somebody told me that somebody had a write up. I'm not saying where, which country, but they had a write up from a people, from a students. They had to write up who would they want to meet in life if they have a choice to meet anybody. Who's the one person? Who can they look? Who do they look up to? Who would they want to learn from, and so on? And the answers is mamish shocking. The große Gewitter, the große tycoons, the große tycoon presidents, and the most famous people in the world, the billionaires and the trillionaires, and this is a Hamish place. I don't want to talk bad, but it reflects what values the parents. So you can go with lange payas and Wasser Zaken, and you go with Stramlich and Bekishes in the weekdays. And if the kid, after 10, 12, 13, 15 years of school and seminary come out that this is the hero, total shock. We're not supposed to be shocked. It shows the values of the parents. Now, I'm not saying many parents are kadoshim shleimim, but it's the kids in the class. Okay, peer pressure, the values of the friends is a lot more. But this is something that we have to instill values. That's not the most important thing, to have a beautiful house and a beautiful yikashes and beautiful whatever. You don't have to spend $10,000-$20,000 on jewelry if you want to marry a koiling man or yeshiva man. Why? You don't have the fanciest house. You don't even own a deed. You're renting for 30, 40 years. No, but the jewelry must be real. Who said? I saw advertised like a half a year ago, like somewhere in Borough Park, I think, somewhere in Brooklyn, about silver, fake silver. Cost a fraction of the price and it's beautiful. Why can we here in not here? I'm above now, but in Eretz Yisrael, I remember it doesn't have to be real diamonds. That's the most beautiful thing. Who needs a real diamond? When you're living that type of life, no diamonds have to be real. Who said? Who said you have to spend more than $100 on a ring? Who said $200? Who said you have to spend so much money? I would go back to the caps like the Chofetz Chaim wore, like the Rashivas wore. Who said you have to spend thousands of dollars? Again, I'm not against it, but when you go out of your mind. See, am I against a nice watch? No. Am I against a nice ring and a bracelet and a necklace and earrings and a nice shaitel or titel, whatever you wear? Am I against elegance? No, absolutely not. But if through that lifestyle and that attire makes you, I'm better than you. I look down at you. I'm the grace of miyuchas or the gevir or the whatever it is. It's afrilapum. It's ekeldik. It's horrible. That's the called nefesh lo yitam. He shouldn't go down the slope. He shouldn't fall down to the shol tachtis. I don't care which rung he's on the ladder, but don't go down. Go up. And most important, who you become in this process. And when you're talking about the worst thing is when you dress so gaudy to stechen his eyes out, it's because you're so ill, never desperate, and you're screaming out, please give me attention because I have no self-value. I have no idea who I am. I don't trust myself. I don't have the self-confidence and self-esteem. I need you to tell me who I am. So please, the guy dresses so gaudy so that everybody should see and is right, please give me attention. So you have to have the nicest bekesh and the nicest jacket, the rekel. And you have to have the nicest coat, the nicest shoes, the nicest belt, the nicest buckle, and then the nicest glasses, and the nicest hat, and the nicest tribal, and the nicest, I don't even know what. The nicest car with the nicest part. Who said? Who said? So you go through kindergarten to 12th grade, and you go through seminary, and instead of most of the class, instead of saying I would wish to learn from a Rebbe or Rav or Rosh Hashiva, it was the richest people on this planet, the biggest tycoons. Ochenvei, Ochenvei. And they're supposed to build the Jewish homes, Akeres Abayis. That's going to be Chochmas Noshim Bon Sabesa. So you run to Tishon and you run to Shul, and inside, who do you, it's Shem Shema, it's a Himmel Geshrei. It shows the values so you have children that have this crazy Yitzhara and they're deprived, and I understand that. I understand that. They don't have rachlis in their heads. I understand that. I'm not blaming anybody. It's not they did it. It's only is mav anius is mav it's is mavod maldaita. They go crazy. But the idea over here of being so crazily desperate. So the Torah tells you over here, you're a kohen. Don't keep yourself on a pedestal because of your clothing, because of your status. No, your character, your mohus, your oifi, which is character, that should stand out. Your edelkeit, your sensitivity, your pleasantness should stand out. That's something. That's called living. That's called not walking around on your neck with a lot of tumah. That's called you're a keli, that to be Hashem should say, I want to be, masha shchina b'soicho b'soicho. Okay, let's go weiter. Maybe continue a little bit. Kedoitzim tiyu, yeah, leilokayim, v'lo yichallu shem elokayim. The Torah is pretty clear over here. It's pretty clear. Kedoshim not to you, they should be, right? Kedoshim. It's either Kedoshim or it's Yichalalu. You can't play both worlds. I'm sorry. Now, I'm for the Hasidic way to bring down Hashem into the lowest parts, to the private parts, to the lost part, have Hashem everywhere, all the way to your fingers. To the Masi Dechim. Yeah, I'm for that. I'm not saying don't do moister. What kind of moister? People can barely pay the bills. What kind of moister is it all? What I'm saying is don't get carried away. Don't get haughty about it. With your status of shaduchim, your status of money, the status of covet, the status of eliteness in the kehillah, or whatever it is. So kedoshim yelelekeim, either you're fighting to go up, or tzichalu shem elelekeim. There's no, I'm neutral. No, if you're not fighting the fight of life, you're falling. So it's kisha, okay, right. I want to go. All right. I'm jumping a few paragraphs, a few capitals. I'm going now to Yom Tov. We start off Shoyer Chesed ki Oyeis ki Volid. I'm not going into that now. I'm going weiter. I spoke about the Chisis B'Chazevach Toida. I'm going after that. Ushmar v'lo yisechalu Hashem Kodeshi v'nigdashti b'soich b'nei Yisrael. It says I should be mikudash. I should be sanctified in the Bnei Yisrael. So this is a charge. This is and this is unbelievably challenging. This is ad kedekach to sacrifice your life for Hashem. Yes, this is going through Holocaust after Holocaust, pogrom after pogrom, Inquisition after Inquisition, v'nigdashti. But it's not only dying al Kiddush Hashem once, it's living al Kiddush Hashem on a daily basis. That means Hashem wants one thing. You really want to give it to them. But they're looking at you as a Jew. You look like a Jew. You have the couple, you have the payas, or whatever it is, the beard. Well, those are without a beard, right? But whatever it is, you have the Jewish tzura. You have the tzura selakim, right? You have the tzura of chelik that screams out, that declares very potently, chelik elikam imal rides and resides in this body, physical body. And it's v'nigdashti b'soich b'nei Yisrael. Here's the big kasha. Why did we suffer for so many millennium, generations after generation, century after century? Why? And the teretz is, second pasuk, Hamoitzi eschem eretz Mitzrayim liyesh lechem elikim ani Hashem. That is the teretz. The teretz is, I think we said it in the Pesach Shurim, Hashem took you out early. You didn't withstand. You were supposed to hold on tight. You were supposed to stay loyal. But Hashem saw you going down south. You're going down to the Shol Tachtas. You're 49 minus. You're Siberia cold, 49 minus spiritually. One more second, you'll freeze to death. Hashem says, I've got to take you out of there. But there's consequences. The Mitzrayim was a small drop. A little suffering there was instead of hundreds of years of suffering, and 190 years of suffering that Hashem couldn't put you through because you were too weak, and he wouldn't have anybody to save and to rescue. You would have said, I will nicht. It's like the other 80%. You would have found who needs Hashem chas v'shalom, and he wouldn't have who to rescue. And he promised Avram Avinu that through him there'll be children. And Ki b'Yitzchak yikaru chazar, and he promised Yaakov, and he had to keep his word. So Hashem said, I took you out early, now you're suffering. So now it's going to be v'nigdashti b'seich b'nei Yisrael. So our mission is not so much to die al Kiddush Hashem, that also, but much more is when you v'nigdashti alive, you stay alive, and you kaddish, you live to sanctify Hashem's name. And when the people walk down the street and they're jealous of the Jew because the Jew cares about each other, and they're jealous of the Jew because the Jew wants to be beneficial, wants to be a blessing to society, and they're jealous of the Jew because the Jew is commitment to Hashem and has his values and delivers the values to the next generation. So that's kedusha. They might not love you, they might be jealous, but they'll be v'nigdashti. They'll see a principled nation. They're not wishy-washy. They're very concerned about they live. So if you cut corners with Mitzrayim, so Hashem says, I'll rescue you. I have to. I have no choice. I promise. But it's going to cost you 10 times the amount. You'll never have tightness in the Rebbeinu Shalom with the challenges and the torture and the pain and the mismatch that he gave you in that chinuch or other. That's going to save us from many chas v'sholom. Now we start with Yom Tov. So you have the Yom Tovim is a Serusa de Lasata, and Shabbos is Serusa de Leila. Serusa means awakening, or Yisodus. When you have the awakening coming from us, we initiate it, or Hashem initiates it. We stray Hashiveina Hashem elech v'nashuva, that we want Hashem to bring us back. But Hashem says, Shuva alai. And the other psukim also. So Hashem wants us. So the shaila is Yom Tov, we initiate it. Now, in the technical wise, we do it by Mechadish de Chodesh. The Bezdin hears testimony from two Eidim and Mechadish. But spiritually, Hashem says, no, I want a Yom Tovim is Mikroi Kodesh. I want you to tell me that you want me. I don't want to push myself on you. It's gatherings, holy, consecrated gatherings together. I want you to initiate it. I want you to say, my wife and the kids, they miss you. We want to know if we can come to you for Pesach. So you come Oile Regel to Hashem, to His Beis Hamikdash, to Yerushalayim. Mikdash is the whole Yerushalayim in that sense. And you come in and I need you to initiate this reunion. This, it's late, it's little ois, villate ois. You have to show up. I need you to show up, not only physically, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually, psychologically. So we come to the Yom Tovim, and Shabbos is koiva kaiva. Shabbos was always there before the world. Shabbos is the source of everything. So Shabbos. That's why Shabbos is chas v'shalom. Somebody breaks the laws on Shabbos, achem vei. Yom Tov is only Malkus. In the sense of Shabbos comes from Shemayim. Esrusa de Leila comes from up upon high, above. But Yom Tov is Esrusa L'Sata. Now, Kul Alma, everybody holds about Shavuos. They've been in Nami Lechem. I'm not going to go into that, but the Chatzi Lechem, it's Yom Tov has to come from our part. Hashem flows down His Hashpois, His blessings, but we have to say, I want it. We have to initiate. We have to say, I want you to be my husband. I want you to be my protector. I want you to be my provider. My source of all happiness, my source of all meaningfulness, my source of all purposefulness, my source of my calling. It should be all around you, Hashem. It's got to be around somebody. Somebody's going to be the hero. Let it be Hashem and His people. So let's go to the Yom Tov with that. We say, "Vaydav Hashem Moshe Lema, Davar b'nei Yisrael ma'ateleim." Speak to the Yiddish kinder, Jewish children, and tell them, "Moyadei Hashem." There's a double lashon. There's daber b'nei Yisrael. Daber is harsh. That's like to the men. V'amarta aleim. That's soft. That's like to the women. So what's going on here? What do you need is harshness, and what do you need is softness? And what does it say? It says, and before it starts, so it says, it says, where does it say the second time over here by Sukkot? Eile moya de Hashem, right? What's this Eile? Here's Eile, and over here it says Eile he moyadoi. What's this Eile? So Chazal teach that Eile lekecha, Eile Elohecha, not Elohecha, Elohecha Yisrael. These are the Getchkelach, power. Asher Heluch Meretz Yisrael that took you out. I forgot the lashon now. Let's go to see. So yeah, Eile Lech Yisrael Asher Helucha Meretz Mitzrayim. They brought you up from Egypt. The Yidden, it's like Eilehei Memoyadoi. Only those, not more. What's the not more? And the teretz is Rosh Chodesh was supposed to be a Yom Tov, and it's like a Yom Tov for the women. The Asaba Malacha, not all Malacha, but the free craft work and so on. Malachas Machshavas type of things. But the point is that why women? Because they weren't part of Cheder Egel. But the Yidden were, the men were, at least they didn't demonstrate that they're against, they didn't protest enough, even those that didn't do it, so they don't have that Yom Tov. So by the men, it's Dabrel b'nei Yisrael. Tell them, no, you cannot have Rosh Chodesh. It starts with Rosh Chodesh, and Rosh Chodesh dictates all the Moyadim, all the festivals. So you can't take part of it. It's Dabrel b'nei Yisrael. Why? Because you had a chelik in the Egel. You, the quiet majority. But v'amarta lehem, that's lashon raka to the women. Moyad Hashem, not eile moyad Hashem, because eile is a rectification of eile lech Yisrael. So it's moyad Hashem without the eile. Moyad Hashem, the special times, right? Designated times. At tikro isum mikroi kodesh, holy convocation. Eile moyadoi. Then it says sheishes yomim te'osim malacha. 6 days it should be done work. It's not, it doesn't say tasa malacha, you don't have to work, but it should be done work. Uvayoyim shvi Shabbos Shabbosim, and the 7th day Shabbos Shabbosim. Why did it say Shabbos Shabbosim? Why can't it say Shabbos L'Hashem V'Lekecha? It doesn't say that. It says Shabbos Shabbosim. What's the Shabbos Shabbosim? And Mikra Kodesh, holy convocation, Kol Malacha Loisasa. So here, look, let's do this again. Sheishes Yom Tov Milacha, not every Malacha, Milacha. Not Kol Malacha. Over Yom Hashvi on the 7th day, Shabbos Shabbosin. It's Shabbos Shabbosin. It's Mikra Kodesh Kol Malacha Loisasa. So why not? Because Shabbos Yil Hashem B'chol Moshe V'Sechem. So Pashup Pshat's a little schwer over here. You start off the Yom Tov, and then you tell me about Shabbos. Tell me about Shabbos even before Rosh Chodesh. I'm telling you, Eile Moed is talking about Rosh Chodesh. Now you told me about Rosh Chodesh. You tell me overall about the Moedim. So why are you telling me? Why are you sticking here Shabbos? So Pshat, you can say Shabbos is, and Yom Moedim is an offshoot of Shabbos. It's really Shabbos. Okay, maybe. Shabbos doesn't mean Dafka Shabbos. It means Yom Tov Pesach. Then a big kasha. So why do you say Mochras Shabbos? Why don't you say Mochras Chag, Mochras Pesach? Why do you have to say Shabbos and give the tzedaikim and everybody room to fund it, to flip it around and try? You have to do all different types of dream with the finger. Why can't you say it straight out the way it is? There will be no suffix, so we'll have to see. But we're starting right now with the Yom Tov, and the first thing we're saying is that Rosh Chodesh is only for the women, not for the men, because they messed up. That's hence the harsh and the soft daber and the vamarta. Then we said Elim Moyadid, only them and not more. These are the madim, and it's only going for not Rosh Chodesh. Why not Rosh Chodesh? Because they messed up. The Egel Azov. And now we're asking a kasha. It says Sheish Yom Tov Malacha. Which malacha is it talking about? It doesn't say Kol Malacha. It says later Kol Shabbos Shabbos. Kol Malacha Leisasa. So I wanted to go off the regular pshat. I want to go to a different pshat also in Pashup Pshat. It's not Drush, it's Pashup Pshat. Elamai, it's talking about Yom Tov. It's not talking about Shabbos. What's a pshat? Is Azoi. It says Sheish is Yom Tov also Milacha. Which Malacha? One Malacha. Which Malacha? The Malacha of Oichel Nefesh. It's the 6 days of Yom Tov. Which 6 days start? Pesach has the first day and the last day in Eretz Yisrael, right? According to the Torah. Shavuos has 1 day. That's 3 days. 2 days of Pesach, first and last, and Shavuos 1 day. That's 3 days. Then you start Rosh Hashanah's Yom Harichta, 48 hours. It's a suffix, so they did the Yom Harichta. 40 hours is 1 day. That's the 4th day. Then let's skip Yom Kippur. Let's go to Sukkot. First day Sukkot, that's 5. And the last day Sukkot, Shemini Tzedek is 6. That's Sheishes Yomim Te'osa Malacha. You don't have to. If you cook before, it's okay. But if you don't have, and you have to cook, you can cook that Malacha Oichel Nefesh. But of Yom HaShvi, but the 7th Yom Tov, which is Yom Kippur, that's different than the 6th. That's Shabbos Shabbosin. Not only you don't do Malacha of regular Shabbos, but you're forbidden, you're prohibited from eating the oichel nefesh. You can't do it. That's Shabbos Shabbosin twice. The spiritual part of Shabbos and the physical and the eating part of Shabbos. Mikra kodesh kol malacha loisasu. All the malachas you're not allowed to do in Yom Kippur. Shabbos Sil Hashem b'chol Moshe V'Sechem. Okay, we're finished with this chat. Let's go weiter. We start off Elimad Hashem again. Elimad Hashem Mikra kodesh Hashem Moyadom B'chodesh Rishon. The first month Barbos Yom LaChodesh. We say on the 14th day of the month, Pesach Lashem. And then Uvachamisha Yom LaChodesh Hazeh, Chag HaMatzos Lashem, and so on. So it says Tov b'Chodesh Rishon. What is it saying b'Chodesh Rishon? It could have just start off be'arbos Yom LaChodesh Harishon. What do you need? You have twice chodesh here. B'chodesh Rishon, b'arbos LaChodesh. Say the Torah doesn't throw words tamazai. It could have said b'arbos Yom LaChodesh Rishon. Why doesn't it say? Why doesn't it say that way? Why say b'chodesh Rishon? So over here you can taina that b'chodesh Rishon is telling you the whole first month lies in the first day of the month. It's chodesh Rishon, and the whole chodesh Rishon, the whole year, all the 12 times 29.5 days lies in this chodesh Rishon. So when you want to talk about this is the source of everything, so before you're going to get specific about which day of the month, which you're going to start off, but b'chamisha lachodesh, right? So you're going to first say b'chodesh Rishon. Everything is included in this b'chodesh Rishon. Okay, so that's we have a Pesach. Let's go to Shavuos. Shavuos doesn't have that. Why doesn't Shavuos have that? Well, there's a few reasons. One of the reasons, okay, we're going to get to Shavuos in a second. I don't want to mess up. Well, I'm going to skip the Sukkos. No, I'm going to skip to Yom Kippur. Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. Let's go to Yom Kippur. Here it says the way it should say, not on the 7th month, the 10th day of the month. It doesn't say that. It says the 10th of the 7th month. You go to Sukkot, the 15th day of the 7th month. That's the correct way. You're saving an extra word chodesh. Jump back to Rosh Hashanah. It says b'chodesh hashvi be'echad l'chodesh, similar to Pesach. Why over there it says b'chodesh hashvi be'echad l'chodesh? Because a person comes to Rosh Hashanah with empty hands, a lot of promises, but no substance. A lot of wishes, but no significance in his behavior. It comes from nothing. He messed up the year before. And he comes Rosh Hashanah, and on smach what? On which basis am I going to give you a full year of brochen, atzlocha, gesund, masel, and panos? On what basis? So Hashem says, b'chodesh hashvi, the whole 7th month combined together. I'm gonna give you a credit. In other words, what you're gonna do in the next month, I'm gonna retroactively, I'm gonna all consider that in be'echad l'chodesh. You hear the word over here? When it comes to Yom Adin, I'm going to take Rosh Hashanah, Aseres Meitshuva, Yom Kippur, 4 days between Yom Kippur and Sukkot and Shemini Atzeres, Simchas Torah, and so on. I'm going to take all that combined and bring it here to the first day when I judge you. So that's B'chodesh Hashvi and Be'echad HaChodesh. It's two different aspects of there. I'm going to take the whole 7th month and put it into the first day of the month. Similar to Pesach, I'm going to take all the months and I'm going to put them to the first month. Okay, I thought I wanted to mention that deal, but I weiter. Okay, let's go to Sfira. So you have the Omer and all that. How come it doesn't say Shabbos means it has to be 7 full weeks? Okay, I'm not going to go into now. Until the tomorrow of the 7th Shabbos. You should count 50 days. Then you bring a mincha chadosh, right? The mincha is sa'irim, and then it's kita, behema, whatever, and then it comes Shavuos. We made it up. Okay, so here's the thing. Push the pshat. I want to go push the pshat. what's the ionosphere? So I'm going to go very technical, and then I'll go to the fact. What's the technical? A guy goes and he goes to Yisrael, and they're busy with the field, the agriculture. I mean, Togenach, they're breathing it, they're living it, they're davening for it, they're mesmerized by it, and they they're filled by it, and they daven and they wish for it, and they dream. The whole time it's dream and thank and dream and thank and dream and thank, and 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 which payers am I going to bring up to Yishalayim, and the Ma'aserish and Ma'aser Sheni, Ma'aserani, Ma'aserish, Ma'aser Sheni, Ma'aserani, of course the Trumas and Truma and to the Kohen and everything else, and then you start with the Bikurim and all the halachas of the Mai and Orla and Leket Shikha, all the halachas. It's all it's every second. You want to know if it's too much rain, too little rain, enough sun, too much sun, and it's all every second. When you live that and you breathe that, it's a whole different situation. So it comes Rosh Chodesh Iyar. When is Rosh Chodesh Iyar? I don't know, and I don't, and it doesn't really. I can't help up right now. I'm too busy. What about Rosh Chodesh Sivan? Also too busy. So how am I going to know when is Shavuos? Oh, here's the trick. Count 50 days. You're busy with the tvul. You're busy. You're out in the fields. You're not at home. You're out in the fields. So count Sphira every day. That's so. Why did you say a bracha? Because you're counting, and the shtei alechem and Shavuos. We have no base of Migdash, so you're not going to make a shechianu. Adarab, instead of shechin, what do? We say harachmun. We wish for the day that we're going to come, bring the shtei alechem, but if we don't have that, but we have a neshalma potens of the what's the neshalma potens of the? Oh, for that, in theory, and we're going to have that in mind of them, you make a bracha. So what's the bracha? The bracha is misafartem lochem. What's the lochem? So it says misafartem lochem mimochras haShabbos miyoim haviachem. There's two memheis. We eat matzah v'lo yochlu lehismameya, right? What's hismameya? You have two memheis. His ma meha. Memhei. What's the two memhei? So Chazal say there's, on the one hand, you need the balance of being healthy pride that I'm a shliach of Hashem, I'm a continuation of Hashem. But on the other hand, chas v'sholom, don't be a bolgayvnik, don't be a yuchsin, a greise yuchsin. Melch Luzhens doesn't want you. You want to run to his cave after that. He says, no, I don't accept such people, the greise yuchosim. Be humble, then your yichus is not against you. So it says, mi mochras ha-Shabbos, that's the memhei, mi mochras ha-Shabbos. The second memhei, mi yoim haviachem, memhei. So on the one hand, mo'adi shimcha b'chol oretz. How powerful, how mighty, how encompassing, how overwhelming is Shimcha, is your name, b'chol oretz, in the whole planet Earth. And there's awe, and there's pachad, and there's reverence, there's admiration, there's respect. On the other hand, if you want to be zoicha to that, so you need the mo enish kisis krenu ka. Who is this enish, this human being? What is he? He has got nothing to him. What is he can't control? Anything he can say if he's going to live or not, or he's going to do this and do that. It's all Hashem. So we have this balance of mo adi shimcha, the memhei, or the mo menachnu mo enish kisis krenu. Who are you altogether? You amount to nothing yourself. But if I connect to mo adi shimcha, then I have the. So the word over here is, on the one hand you have the balance. That's the matzah, the skinny matzah, that's the thin matzah. That's this it's the it's the it's the nova. It's the simple ingredients. It's the pashtus. It's the munapruta, and it's round. And it's round because the 15th letter is samach. You have the 15th Distorim, and that's the even this kind of Levi, kind Levi Yisrael, but it's humble. It's humble. You eat it to kazesim, but it's humble pie. So the what's samach? Samach represents we're all one in front of Hashem. It's all connected. We're all one and the same before Hashem. There's no gaiva. There's everything. It's leman Hashem. So it says, what's the lechem? When mimochras Shabbos? What's this mochras Shabbos? Why can't it say regular Yom Tov? Mimochras Chag, mochras Pesach. Because the difference is v'sefartem lochem. What's the lochem? Lochem is Hashem says, I'm going to give you a taste. I'm going to show you what it feels like to get out of bondage. So the first night of Pesach, the Seder night, I'm going to schlep you out of bondage to Cheres, Avdus lecheres, to freedom. Once you taste this freedom, now in order to you to feel it, you have to strive, and then you have to plan, and you have to work hard and toil and invest and put in every drop of it. And ultimately, you're going to get to this after this. In other words, you have to do the lochem. It's on you. The spheres, you can't jump in a second to Shavuos. Pesach is Posach ala Pesach. Which Pesach? Pischli Pesach kechudesh shel machad. I usually have to say, I want in. Please take me and accept me. But Pesach, we were like sheni de lishul. We couldn't do anything. We had nothing to ourselves. So Hashem schlepped us out. But after the first night of Pesach, it starts the sphere not from the first night. No, the first night is for free. But from the second night, you got to work your way up, sphere after sphere, level after level, step after one step at a time, level after level, lochem, 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 lochem. And if you won't do lochem, you won't feel it. You come Shavuos, it'll be cheap, and people don't appreciate cheap. So it's the lochem, but you have to go with the right foot says the left foot is cautious, you take step after step after step after step, and you make your way up to Matan Torah. So comes Shabbos. Shabbos says that's Isrusa de Le'ela. The hashpo comes from Shemayim, not you. Yes, if you want to appreciate, you have to be a conduit. So it's Misha Torah Berev Shabbos. What do you want if you didn't prepare? You didn't participate. You can't enjoy yourself. But the matona, Yeshli matona beveis genozai, it's a total matona. Matona means you don't have to work for it. V'Shabbos shmo lech voidiyam. Shabbos is Isrusa de Le'ela, comes down to us, not like Yom Tovim or Hachona to Shavuos, which is we have to do. That's why Pesach is called Mimochras HaShabbos, not Mimochras HaPesach. Only Pesach is called Mimochras HaShabbos. Why does Pesach get Mimochras HaShabbos? Because just like Shabbos, it's a Rusa de L'Sata, de Le'ela, it comes from Shemayim. You don't deserve it. You get the inspiration, the awakening from Shemayim, because you're totally down in the mud, in the quicksand. You can't get yourself out. Hashem comes and whisks you out. After Pesach, that's after Mimochras Shabbos. No, then we're not going to say Mochras Shabbos and Yom Tov. We'll call it Chag, we'll call it Pesach, we'll call it Atzeres, whatever it is. It's not going to be called Mochras Shabbos. So the Tzadikim will say Mochras Shabbos is Sunday. No, it's not Sunday. Beferish not. I couldn't call it Mochras Chag because the message is it has to be Yisrusa de Le'ela. That's why when it comes to the first night's Sfira, how do you say the second night's Sfira? The second night's Sfira, you say, Hayoim, Yoim Sheni, Shlishi, Revi. The third, the fourth, the fifth, the second. It should have been the first. There's no first. Hayoim, not Yoim Rishon Loimer. Hayoim, Yoim Echad Loimer. Why Yoim Echad? This is one of the Mahalch. One of the Mahalch is now we know why. Because if you would say Rishon, then it sounds like, Rishon, it's like Yom Rishon is Sunday. It's Tzaddukim. I'm sorry, you're dead wrong. I'm not going to even mention Rishon, that nobody should think for a second that it's like they said, Mimochras Shabbos means Sunday, which translates in Hebrew, Yom Rishon. So I'm going to say Yom Echad. There's other terutzim. I gave other years, but this fits in over here. It's always gehalten. It's meduya. Okay. Now, I I think I'm going to cut it out over here because it's already too late. I want to just mention. I mentioned a few things. I don't know which sure, but this alta zach that everybody knows. But I want to bring it up for a second. A new topic. Silikmir that it's a Reb Mayer Balanes's today. No, let me check it out. Let me. Uh, Lula, Lo, from Reb Mayer Balanes. It's Yudal, yeah. It's Pesach Sheni. So I want to start off very quick. My Zayda said a word, so Yartza, I want to say a word. Nafshi b'chapi somadus rosh chochti. Nafshi means yeshes nafshechem by Ephraim. Avram Avinu speaks to the Bnei Chais and says, please persuade Ephraim, the head, the new head. So he says, yeshes nafshechem. Rashi says, nafshechem means retzoinchem. Mesiris nefesh is mesiris rotzen. There's mesiris haguf and there's mesiris, there's two different things. Chur was Mesiris Haguf, Aaron Akoin was Mesiris Nefesh. And Lekach Nefcharta, I'm not going to go into right now. We spoke about it then, all right, once. I don't remember this year, last year, whatever. Nafshi, David the Melech says, Nafshi Bechapi Summit. Chapi is my palm. My rotzen is right here. That means like I'm full control. That's how it's rotzcha. This is a topic that I want to speak about for a second. Rashi says lahazi gedolim emor v'amarta, twice emor and amarta, twice say and say. So lahazi gedolim alaktanim, all different pshatim. The adults should teach the younger moichli ktanim, moichli gedolim when you're in a capacity of broadness and and spiritually uplifted and not challenged. Then you have to inspire yourself and fill yourself up enough and substantiate it so that when when you're in your low days and your low times, you should be able to draw from that inspiration and clarity, but and strength. But besides that, I just want to say the following: Rotzen has to do with emotion. I want it. I don't want it. Rotzen is something. Emotion is also memory. If you want it that badly, you remember. It also has to do with controlling yourself. Nafshi b'chapi somid. My rotzen is controlled on my palm. In other words, I have full control. Why? Because it's that important. No woman that can control her children has issue when the kid puts the hand in fire, or when the kid wants to play around with a water bug or something. The mother will scream chayv for a lifetime. The kid will be petrified from getting close to these water bugs, big, huge water bugs, or other cockroaches. If the kid chas wants to put his hand in electric, the mother will give us such a geschrei, such a screech, forget it. Then the kid sees for once that she really means it. She really means it. Usually they don't see that in the mother. Unfortunately, you need a father for that. You need a big, bully, tough voice. The guy that means business, he doesn't play, don't play games with me. And the kid right away picks their fights. They stop right away. What they might do is, when they don't get their way, they might cry, but they'll back off. They won't bully, they won't touch, at least when the adult is in the room. And the mother's totally lost. But I don't believe in that because I see these mothers that have a soft and sensitive approach. When it comes to the child, chas v'shalom, not running across the street, the mother will grab him if she has to hurt him and break out of whatever it is. She'll do whatever it takes. So if you want to patch, you don't want to patch, that's your thing. I don't believe in patching, but I believe the kid has to know that he could stop a patch. He's not immune. He or she are not immune. No, you don't get to throw a temper tantrum, not in the store and not at home. You don't, that's not mekubal, it's unacceptable. And we have to work on ourselves and daven to Hashem and hope for the better, but we have to at least the attempt of trying to train, not to tell the kid, but train with the kid. Build up muscle from a second to 2 seconds to 5 to 20 to half a minute to an hour to a day to a week to a lifetime of regulating your emotions. One of the most important things by far in the future life of the person. By far, much more important than most other things. Like way more important. Those who can't regulate their emotions make the worst husbands, the worst wife, the worst colleague at work, the worst friends, the worst neighbors, the worst bosses, and the worst employees, the worst mispalalim, the worst everything. More than anything else, we have to teach the kids. Good midas is regulating your emotions. No, you don't get to scream and ruin everybody's life. You're a baby of a few weeks old, a few months old, we get it. But as soon as you get to a certain age where every kid are different, it could be 9 months old, it could be a year and a half old, it could be 2.5, whenever the capacity of the child, that they got what they're doing. They choose their fights. They look who it is. And when the mother walks in, they just start crying every second, or the whatever it is. If the father's like a lady, a wimp, but if the father is assertive, the father has self-confidence, and he's not a Russian, he's not a bully, but he understands, he has clarity, and he's purposeful, and he has his direction, and you feel his presence there. And you don't get to do whatever you want. No, you can't smack a mother. No, you can't smack and hit a different baby. It's unaccepted. No, you can't pull hair. And whatever it is, if you want to, in the army is push-ups, so you make the kid, so to speak, push-ups. Whatever it is, you have to tell them that there's consequences. You don't get to hurt anybody else. And then in yeshivas, when kids are ruining everybody's life, I always wonder where they take it from. I dread that my kid should bully somebody else. And the worst thing a Rebbe could tell me is not that he learned, but he bullied somebody else, or he or she bullied somebody else, or made fun of somebody else, belittled somebody, badmouth somebody else, ruined their with their mouth, or with the eyes, or with the nose, whatever it is. This is the most important nafshi bechapi summit. You don't want to, otherwise kids grow up to be monsters, poshut monsters. You have this chayvus to tell a kid, no, you don't get to scream and wake everybody up. No, it's not gonna. You're gonna get nothing if you act like that. You be a monster. You get nothing from. You start from day one, as when they have the consciousness. Maybe a year old, maybe 9 months, maybe 12 months, maybe 15 months, maybe 18 months, maybe 2 years, whatever it is. There's some children that you can't fight them. They're such terrible characters, so stubborn, so akshonis. It's not worth it. But I'm not going to let you hurt somebody else. There's no way. I don't care how much. If I can't get you to stop screaming, but I would recommend to get them to stop screaming. Sekimta fremda reina, a foreigner comes in, a stranger walks in, they get petrified, they close their mouth. What happened? Because a stranger is going to give them what kind of consequence? I'm not going to take that garbage. So yes, a mother is unconditional, and a mother is that's true. So you have to have a place where you can cry out and complain and bicker. Yeah, yeah. But you don't get to ruin everybody's life. You don't go to a store and throw a tantrum because you want to ruin your parents' life. There are some babies that terrible, terrible characters. They born with such horrible midas. It's exception. For the most part, you have to work with them, and you have to try. And if you try it and it work, okay, that's on Hashem. It's not on you. But at least give it attempt. So when you scream about a fire and you scream about electric, woo, the kid sees, no, now she's for real. And the kid says, oh, finally, somebody controlling me. And when my muscles are weak, I need somebody to help me control myself. And when you're a wimp, they hate the parent, they hate the mother, and they love the Asher Yechiach. They love the person who controls them when they get out of control. But he's harsh. Well, guess what? I'm getting I don't want them to get a nervous breakdown when they're little kids. They go so much sugar. So first of all, at home, it should be a peaceful place. Go to the park and run around. At home, it shouldn't be blasting and crazy music. A home is a peaceful place. You sit there and you walk there. You talk, but it should be peaceful from craziness of conversation and laughing and litzonis and everything. Yeah, it trickles over to the anger and uncontrolled, unregulated emotions. But if a home is you train into the children from, it's very difficult to go from 0 to 100 in a second. But if you're 80, you're already excited and crazy and out of control. So when you get angry, you go to 120 right away. You go to 180 right away. The point is that there has to be nafshi b'chapi summit. It's got to be that important. Like when fire and electric, chas v'shalom, it's got to be that important. And it's v'seros chalosh shechachti. When you give credits to that, you won't forget. Okay, I just want to speak about Reb Mayer Balanes a second. Reb Mayer Balanes, famous story, Reb Chanina ben Tradian from the Asara Ruga Malchus, right? They took a Sefer Torah and put it around him, Tzemer Geffen, they put a cotton and they put it in water so it shouldn't, the fire shouldn't burn him right away, sort of cook him up. And the Talmud asked, what do you see? He says, Or says Porcus Ba'avir, the letters of the Torah. And the symbol was you can burn his body or the cloth, the parchment, but you can't burn the neshama of the Torah. You can't burn the letters. You can't burn his neshama. That was his lesson to his Talmidim. But in any case, then when they killed him, the guy that did it heard the whole conversation. He said he saw he's dealing with a Malach Alakim, and sort of saying that you can kill his body, but you can't kill his soul. His soul is forever. It's a piece of a piece of Hashem. So he said, if I take away the cotton, and he's not tortured for a slow death, slow painful death, and he's gonna have a fast death. So could you promise me olam haba b'mechitzas, which he did, and they both perished, and that's the story. But he had a daughter, and the daughter they took to Beis Nus, and they were going to rape her from the morning to the night, 24/7. And she was extremely, extremely beautiful. And she had a sister, Bruria, the mayor's wife. And Bruria says, Mayor, you're not going to save my sister. Now they're going to rape her, torture her from the morning to night. How could you? So the mayor took his savings, maybe for weddings, whatever they had savings, a lot of money. And he went there, tried to bribe the head guard. And the head guard wouldn't have that. No way. What are you talking about? So he said, what do you mean? There's a lot of money. You're never going to make such money. Here, you can go on vacation and have to work another day. I saved this stuff for my kids for decades. The kids said the guy really wanted the money. But the problem is if they let out the young lady, then they're gonna kill him. He says, no, you're not gonna. And he taught him with the dogs and the ganze Geschäft. The dogs were gonna pounce on, and he says, I once gave a different shot, and there's a you say 3 times, the God of Meir Aneni, answer me, and Hashem will help. And he saw it with the dogs. He demonstrated, and the guy was really impressed. So the guy was bought off with the money, and he gave out the lady. He took her out, and he sent her off. The kids, so Baruch Hashem, she was saved. Now this guy had trouble. They ran after him because they said, "Where's this girl? Everybody wants the kitzah." So he screamed "Elakoda Meiraneni," and whatever he said, this code, and they dropped. They let him go. But they wanted to know, what were you saying? So he told them, "Elakoda Meiraneni." There was a guy at a mayor here, so now they went looking for a mayor Balanes and so on. Okay, that's a story for a mayor Balanes. That you say "Elakoda Meiraneni," there's an ace. Now, why he was moist nefesh for his wife's sister, for Yiddish girl, and so on. Okay, so here's the shaila. The shaila is the famous shaila. Why, when you give tzedakah, right? The zgula, you give tzedakah, and you say "L'kodem Eraneni." What's shot in that? So here's the vort. I said this before in one of the shura, but I want to repeat. Probably many times, but I want to repeat it. For somebody didn't hear. The cover is the outside. Schus the The machlokes in the Gemara, Reb Yehuda and Reb Mayer. Always Allah Reb Yehuda. Why the Gemara says they weren't lo yardu l'soif daita. They couldn't understand him. He was way too above and beyond. He was in higher levels, and Shemaim understood him. But here in the world, it was more sort of Beis Shammai was a higher level. So Basila was more practical, more grounded. Same here with Reb Yehuda versus Reb Mayer. So therefore, Allah is. But in this case, Ramey is right. What's the case? So let's say the case. The machloikis, if it's bonum atam l'shem alekechem, are you bonum lamakim or not? Rabbi Yehuda says, or it says eved avodim, kli b'nei Yisrael avodahem, right? It's my avodim. I took you out of Egypt. So the question is, are you avodim or sons or children? So the teretz is, Rabbi Yehuda says, when they do oisim l'toini shalmakim, when they fulfill Hashem's will, in other words, when they act to Shemaim that you're my father, so Hashem says, so you're my son. But you act to me, you're not dedicated, you're not loyal, you just do whatever like the minimum. It's not like a son, it's like a worker. So a worker, if it's worth it for me, fine. If you avoid them, it's like a worker. And if a worker is worth it for me, I'll keep you. If not, I drop you, I take somebody else. So Rabbi Yehuda says when they don't fulfill the will of Hashem and they pray, they behave as if he's a boss, not a father. So no real genuine loyalty. So Hashem says, okay, you're like Eved, and so you're not my son. But Tzon is like a son. Says Rameh ben kachu ben kach. So if even if they fulfill the will of Hashem and they act him as if he's a father, or if they don't, they're considered sons. They have the status of sons. With this background, says the Gemara. The Gemara says a story. Tunus Rufus comes to Rebbe Kiva, and he says, if Hashem is so kind and benevolent, so why does he create poor people to have to suffer? They can't make ends meet. and Rabbi Kiva explains this. Rabbi Kiva explains this world is like a spectacle. It's like a play. So you have the shvach and the shamas. They need to have money and power and fame and popularity and everything else and get their way. And they have to have the beauty and they have to be clever and smart and they have to strong and rich and everything. But then if they're going to be the rich Who are they going to give money to? If everybody has money, so you need some neshamas to play the role of pauper, lo yitzlach, nishkabar mazel. So what do you do? So the teretz is that the strong neshamas say, of course, I would want to be the rich and famous and everything else. But Hashem had that the weak neshamas grab. We need a strong neshama, so they take it upon themselves this mission and this role in life and this spectacle of being the pauper and whatever the lo yitzlach. So says Reb Akiva, if the rich people want to feel good by giving, that will make them feel, that will boost their egos. Look, I'm important. I'm needed. Who are you going to give to if there's no poor people? Who's going to take? So the teretz is that's where you need the poor people to give meaningfulness and purpose for the rich people, and they suffer and they took it upon themselves for Hashem's sake. The question is, he asks Akasha, tzedakah? Did you just say now to give tzedakah to the poor? How dare you? Why not? So Tunas Rufus says, you have an eved, you have a servant, you have a worker that went totally against his employer. He went against his provider. He went against his king. And he bad mouthed him, and he besmirched him, and he laughed at him, and he made fun of him, and he went totally against the king in front of everybody. Now the king, minimum, he could have killed him, but minimum, he throws him into jail. In the dungeon of those times, person for sure died. So you punish the king, you punish the perpetrator against the king. L'man yishma v'yiro. And you go ahead and you feed the guy behind the king's back. How dare you withhold your loyalty? So the pauper is punished. So you're going to go and give him money for food. How dare you feed him? Says Rabbi Akiva, that's what you don't get. You think it's avodim. No. It's bonim matam l'Hashem Elokeichem, and like Reb Mayer says, ben kach nikrim bonim, ben kach kruim bonim. And if I'm a son, and the king gets angry at his son and lashes out and throws him into jail, and 2 weeks later he comes down and he starts crying, Oy vei's mir, what did I do? In my wrath, I threw him to the dungeon and he died. And what did I do? I miss my son. And somebody says, no, there was a Yiddle over here. What kind of Yiddle? This Yiddle, he did what he did. What did he do? He went behind your back and fed your son. And and your son said, what are you doing? And he said, don't, he's your father. It's not your employer. It's your father, and your father really loves. He's angry now. He'll calm down, and you'll see. He's not going to neglect you. He'll take you back, and you'll see that he's not going to reject you. He'll calm down and take a few days. So I'm giving you to eat because he really loves you. And he gave the son chizik, and he fed him. And he took care of him quietly, secretively, stillithly, where nobody can see, officially against the king. But the king, the king jumps from joy. And not only he doesn't punish that Yidela, he gives him all the reward in the world. My Ben Yochid, I send him to his death, and you saved him. That's the biggest chesed you can do with me. I'm forever, Zachalti lo chesed nurayas, forever grateful for you. Says Rabbi Akiva, you don't chop, it's bonim, like Reb Mayer says. So tzedakah is not only it's not only optional, it's obligatory. You have to give it. It's a ben shel melech. How are you not going to give it? So you say punishes him because you look at it as a work, and if he's not worth it, so throw him out. No, but this is a son. Even if you throw out the son and the son says, where do I go? What do you mean, where do you go? It's my house. But you threw me out of the yeshiva. No, but the yeshiva is one thing. I'm taking you home. and you're going to sleep in my bed, and I'm going to give up my bed for you. Like the Chofetz Chaim did with the Talmud. So, B'schus Reb Mayer, that's what we have the right to give tzedakah. Because he says we're always children. That is Pesach Sheni. Pesach Sheni is, in English, they say the expression, I don't know in other languages how they say it. There's never a second chance to make the first impression. Guess what? Pesach Sheni says, mm-mm. Judaism gives you a second chance to restart the first impression. David HaMelech, David HaMelech sort of got a new neshama when he went out to fight Goliath. And when they anointed him with the oil, when they did the Mashiach means anointed, and they anointed David HaMelech, Chazal teach that he grew taller. He was a small person, and he grew taller because now he's like a new neshama, a new challenge in life. When somebody gets married, they don't have them plus another half. No, it's a new entity. It's a new mitzias. It's a new neshama. It's the wholesome neshama of two halves. It's not two halves glued together. It's a wholesome new neshama. When you go to the chuppah, you're going to the mizbeach. You're going ready to sacrifice your old singlehood into marriage. Both of them are sacrificing on the mizbeach. They're giving it, and they're getting a new neshama, a wholesome neshama, and you grow into that. And that's the so the it's it the it ben kach u ben kach nikra bonim. That is the so Pesach Sheni. It's not if you missed out the first Pesach, you're doing a second Pesach. No, Pesach Sheni is the first impression. It's a second chance to make a first impression. It's a new impression. It's not like you messed up, but I'm going to let you in b'diavad. No, it's l'chatchila. Just show up, show up, show up. So what's Yud Dalet? Yud is Mashiach ben Yosef, the Yud, Yosef. And the Dalet is Mashiach ben David combined together. Whatever they have to fulfill, machlokes, Rishonim, but whatever they have to fulfill, that's going to bring a new entity, a new geula, a new thing. Like by Matan Torah, they gave up Yitzchak Avinu by Rakeda, he got something new. But like by marriage, you get something new. That's the whole side of the chuppah, the heilige part of the chuppah. You're coming to the mizbech and you makriv your old self, your old ego, and you come in now togetherness, bring it all together. So the Yud Dalet Iyar is Ani Hashem Rifecha. Iyar is also the Rosh Tevis of Aleph Yud Yud, right? Aleph is Avram, Yud, and Yud is Yitzchak, Yaakov, and then you have one mother that's going to come at the end of time, and Hashem is going to say, "V'shovu bon v'likvulek." That's Rachel Imenu, that's the Reish. So together you have this whole noise over here of making the first impression. I just want to end with a little story. There was a lady. She was a little girl before the war, and everybody perished, and she survived the Holocaust and Bekitza. So this is about 50 years ago story. There was a bacher. He went to Israel to learn, and he went into the Heilige Gereb, the Bais Yisrael for bracha. It was his 16th birthday. He was pretty lonely, and he figured to uplift himself, he'll get a bracha from the Heilige Tzaddik. He was considered the big tzaddik. So he went in and he comes in and he writes his kvittel. I don't know if the Gabba wrote the kvittel, his father's name, his mother's name, his name. I don't know if anybody else, whatever it was. And the Bais Yisrael goes and he sees his father's name and his mother's name and his name. It goes back to the mother's name like he sort of reads out. You hear like sort of reading out or something the mother's name. He found it strange, and then and he thinks, and he's shaking his head, and he says, "No, no, tzedukah tatzma mimuvas." Like, what does that mean? And, and I don't know what he taught. I don't even know if he gave him a bracha or something. Maybe he told him. I don't know. Mazel tov for his. I don't know. I have no idea. But he was totally. He didn't stop what happened because he just heard tzedakah. I came for bracha for life, and he's telling me tzedakah tatzal movis. I mean, like a cloud, right, hoovering over him, and he's like totally nishbazi. He can't get to. And the Gabba throws him out, and the next, and he's walking by himself, and he's totally distraught. He's shaken up to the core. He doesn't stop what's flying. A 16-year-old kid, all alone in Israel, from America. And he went into a bracha. He thought he'd get chid and tzedakah from others. Do you mean to say that something is terribly about to happen or something? The kid said nothing happened, and right after that, he went to take it up. He went to America. Either was then his man. I don't remember the details. He comes to America and he's a little shaken up, and he comes and he looks at his father, his mother, everybody's alive. And what is this? He doesn't even know what it means, start, stuck. What does that mean even referring to? The kids are so the parents say, no, you told us you called it, you going to the get it, Rebbe, and what happened? So you got a bracha. He didn't want to talk. Nah, I gotta go. They pushed him to the corner, and not they pushed. They put him to the corner, sort of, and they said, "Come on, you have to say." He didn't want to say. He was afraid to say tzedakah tatzma. That's a curse. What? So he let out a sigh, and he said, "I was very disappointed. I went in for chizuk. I walked out with terror, stricken, like mom is trembling, and I couldn't get. I still can't get back to myself. What did he say?" So he said, "Seduka tatzum limavis." Now the father looks, and it's strange. How do you decode that? But the mother went total white. She totally lost it, like fatigue, almost fainting. And she's like, what say it again? You did. He says, Tzedukata. You sure? He said, yeah. And the mother breaks down crying, and the father says, tell you, there's something you're hiding. What is it? And she didn't want to talk. She went through the Holocaust. And then, but the father is asking, and she felt bad, and the kid is totally petrified. So she's trying to calm down. So the first time since the Holocaust, this is many years after the Holocaust, she the first time spoke about what transpired. Just a drop of it. She said the following: They were, I've forgotten which ghetto, Lomza ghetto, Warsaw ghetto, one of the ghettos, and the mother secured a small piece of bread and sliced to thin slices, mamish like a thin toast. And the mother didn't give it. She got it in the morning, but she didn't give it out in the morning to her and her siblings because she had it in a paper, shmata, whatever. She didn't give it out because then they're going to be hungry at noon and afternoon and in the early evening and late in the evening. The kids didn't go out of their minds. So the mother held it for another few hours till afternoon, and then she finally gave each one a piece of bread. And she thought to herself, if I take this piece of bread and I consume it now, what am I going to do at night when this hunger ping? It's like how am I going to handle that? So she figured, let me wait another hour. And if I can wait and then another hour, and another hour, and finally, she's gonna. And then she couldn't wait any longer. She's starving. She didn't eat for 2 days. Not always a mother got a hold of bread. And she finally takes that paper that she wrapped around the bread, takes it out, puts it aside, goes to the water, and she wants to wash her hands and eat this piece of bread when everybody's going to bed already quietly. She'll have a bread. She won't go to sleep in such a hungry stomach like her siblings. And there's a knock at the door. It wasn't this wild, abusive knock from these SS fascist Yimach, and it was some edler knock. So she went to the door, And there stands an old man. He looked like 90. And he says, "Oh, please, my tochter, my daughter, please." He feels like he's dying. Could you save me? Give me such a piece of bread. And all she had in that house was her piece of bread. There was no way she's giving away her bread. She waited with such pain for so many hours in order to give it away. Why my life is first? Maybe who said maybe he had bread already today and so on. Why do I have to give it away? She could have, there's no way. But the point is she's gonna say no, but how can I say no to his eyes? Lamaisa, I'm living with Hashem, and Hashem gave me this Messiah. And Hashem gave me this old man over here, and everybody's in bed already, and I'm the only one up, and I answered the door. If one of my siblings, they didn't even know I put it away, nobody paid attention, and so on and so forth. I said a little later, but they didn't check upon me. They probably think I ate it up already, and they would go to the door. They would say, "I'm sorry, we don't have any bread over here." But punked me, punked this, and punked that, and that's why I stayed for so many hours. The kids, she was fighting and fighting and fighting, and she says, "Hashem, you know what? I'm trusting you." And she went and gave away her bread. And the old man looked at her with tears in his eyes now. And he said, "Wow." And he tells her, "Tzedukah tatzal mimovas." Tzedukah will save you from death. Shine. What is that going to help her? She's hungry. She went into bed. She cried. It was so painful. And she knew she did the right thing, but it was still so painful. Little girl can't, you can't control her emotions. She goes from the ghetto, they go to concentration camp, they killed all her siblings, her parents, and everything else, and garnished. Every time she was almost killed or dying, all of a sudden she sees this old man in her hallucination. And he tells her with a smile in his eyes, and he says, "Tzedukah tatzal mimubis." Tzedukah will save you from death. And she said it happened a nice few times during the Holocaust, in the concentration camps, in the death camps, and so on. And somehow, miraculously, she survived the Holocaust, and she came out of the Holocaust, and they ended up going to America, and she got married, and she's living in America for decades. About 50 years ago, this boy comes home with this story to Dr. Tatsumovas. Now you know. She said, "Let me tell you the second half of the story. I know what happened. After you went to the Bais Yisrael and he said Tzedakah Tatzma, he saw something, and I'm going to tell you what he saw. Because you went to them in the evening of your 16th birthday, and they're in America 7 hours later. In other words, in the wee hours when it's already tomorrow, in Eretz Yisrael, it's the wee hours of the morning of America. And she in the morning, towards the morning, she had a dream. And after so many years, this old man came to her in a dream. And this old man started to scream and cry, "Please, I beg you, tzedukah tatzlim, tzedukah tatzlim, please go give tzedukah, give tzedukah, give tzedukah, give tzedukah, tzedukah tatzlim," and he's crying, "Please." And the urge was like emergency. And she wakes up trembling, sweating, and going out of her mind. But she doesn't want to tell anybody, because if she tells, she's got to say the torture that she endured in the Holocaust, and she can't speak to bring up those memories. Go crazy. And as it is, it's so difficult. And every night with the nightmares and nightmarish life that they had after the Holocaust. And so she got up and she ran to her pocketbook and took out 10 times chai, $180, and put it on the side for tzedakah l'schus ramei balanes. And she says, "Elikod meir aneni, Elikod meir aneni, Elikod meir aneni," and she gives the tzedakah. And she goes back into bed, but she couldn't sleep. It was the morning already, so she got up and then she went about her ways. And she had to go to some appointment. I don't know if it was a doctor appointment, whatever it was. Maybe it was Manhattan. It was a very big street with many lanes in Brooklyn. And she gets to the light, and it's green for her. It's white, not white. It needs to be walk and don't walk. The kid says she's allowed to walk, and there's a red light for the pedestrians can walk, but the drivers have to stop. and she's in the middle of that multi-lane street, and she couldn't go back and not forward. She wouldn't make it. And here this truck is going so fast, like speeding like crazy and out of control. If either was a cement or sand truck, it was a big heavy truck. And she saw it's so close that he can't stop. There's no way he can stop. So she's for sure dead. There's no way she can't run. She like got paralyzed. And this and she started to scream, Shema Yisrael, like in the Holocaust, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, a pledge of allegiance to Hashem. And she thought she died. Somehow miraculously, Hashem made that the truck swerve, something happened, and it went flying and tumbling over, and it went to a pole or a tree, and the bash, the smash, the boom, the metal clashing, the breaking of glass. It was so loud. It was mamish thundering, and she was shaken. She barely can turn around to see what happened. And what transpired is that where's that truck? She thought she's dead. And she survived again. A moment of a Holocaust for her. And the memories came up and she went crazy and she was there. And somebody came and ran and helped her. A lady helped her to the side. Well, that driver, African American driver, I don't know what happened to him, but he was dead on the scene right away. There was no zecher. The whole front was so smashed and turned over. When she was hallucinating right then and there, standing there with closed eyes, she saw that old man appear to her again, and he was smiling like during like decades before, when he came to her sort of in a dream, and he told the smile, "Tzeduka tatzal memovis, my kind, everything is. I'm so glad everything is all right." And then the lady came to her to carry her away and to bring her away to the side and so on. When somebody, when somebody gives up, you can never lose by giving up. Because she was the Sizbuchu Zevach Toidel Hashem. It was the Tzoimchem Tizbuchu. It was the Rotzen because she trusted Hashem. The mother will never poison the child. You trust your mother. You trust your father. So Hashem says, if you act to me like and call out to me like a father, I'll never abandon you, and you'll always be my son. Benkach and benkach krim bonim. Thank you very much. Again, for the schus, for everybody, for the fus, Yeshuas, and everything well, and my brother Shmuel, and